Hi everyone, it's been a while since I owned any bike with brakes other than Shimano. This time I have a set of SRAM Guide R brakes, and I thought I would give you a quick idea of how they perform compared to the Shimanos that I've been riding for the last 2 or 3 years. These brakes are SRAM's new generation of mountain bike brakes, and as you can see, the lever is designed with that one finger braking in mind. Guide R's are kind of at the bottom of the pole. If you were talking about the equivalent in Shimano world, these I think would be about the equivalent of a Dior. That is because they have 3 other brakes that are more expensive and with more features than this. You can see here the 2-piece handlebar clamp, and the only adjustment that you have available here is the adjustment for the reach. So this is, you don't need any special tool for it. You see the bleeding port right here and the description Guide R. You can see that these brakes use the DOT 5.1 or DOT 4 brake fluid. This is corrosive, so keep that in mind. It's a bit more complicated to deal with this compared to the mineral oil from Shimano. The servo wave from Shimano is called Swing Link in case of the SRAM brakes, but the Guide R doesn't have it. Also, the more expensive ones, the RSC, the Ultimate, would have a little wheel over here where you can adjust the bite point. This one, the Guide R, again is kind of a Dior equivalent and doesn't have that adjustment built in. Caliper is fairly small, and you can see it here. They don't use fins or anything like that you would find on the Shimano brakes. You can see here the bleeding port. If you loosen up this screw, you can move the banjo in the back, so that will be different from the Dior equivalent. The brake pad pin here has a circlip in the back, so in order to replace it, just pull that out, and then this is a 2.5 millimeter Allen key. Remove the pin and you will have access to the pads. These Guide R's come with organic pads. The more expensive ones come with metallic, but you can use either pad with either brake. Looking carefully in there, you can see 1, 2 pistons, and of course there's 2 more on this side. If you look at the shape of the caliper, you can see that there is 4 pistons on each caliper. I believe the design of the caliper is the same for all Guide brakes. Here's your brake pads. Again, these are the organic ones, very similar design to what Shimano has to offer. Anyway, let's put the pads back. Very simple to install. Just have to push them in an angle because they wouldn't go just straight in. Brakes come with the centerline rotors. You can see the quite unique design. You can spot them easily out there. You can see centerline 180. This is a 180 disc made by SRAM, and they're kind of equivalent of an SLX from Shimano. They work just fine. I didn't notice any unusual noise or squeaking or squealing or any of the noises that were accompanying the Avid brakes back in the day. One more interesting thing here. Bleeding block from Shimano. It fits just fine in the caliper from SRAM, so here it is. For those of you interested in the weight, this is a front brake, so it comes up to 295 grams with the 180 millimeter spacers here, and with the screws I think the Shimano XTs come up to about 280 grams each. Obviously the rear brake with a longer hose add a few more grams to that. So this is a center line from SRAM, 180 millimeter, and you can see here the rotor comes up to about 147 grams, which I'm pretty sure it's close to an SLX. One other thing worth mentioning is that these brakes are ambidextrous, so if you want to switch them to motor style and whatnot, you don't have to disconnect hoses. All you have to do, just remove the bar clamp, move the left to right and right to left, and you're good to go, only because they look exactly the same on the other side. Um, they use a very similar design. If you were to look at the Shimanos, you use an 8mm wrench here to remove the hose. They have an olive, they have an insert. Again, very similar design to what Shimano has to offer. Now the million-dollar question: how do they perform? Again, this guide R's don't have the swing link, which is the equivalent of the servo wave from Shimano, and I can tell you that they feel very progressive. So the lever feel is very different compared to the Shimanos, mostly because you feel you have to apply a bit of pressure right from the get-go on the lever, and then it starts to bite, and as you pull more, they bite more. On the Shimanos, you have that bit of movement up top that doesn't do much for you, and then the servo wave kicks in, and it's kind of an on-off. So it's very little that you movement here that would lock up your wheel, really. So if you ask me, I do prefer these guide R's, and what they suggest is that if you want more bite and more aggressive braking, you should use the metallic pads. That would be no different from the Shimanos. I did ride the same brakes for 2 days in the Whistler Bike Park on a downhill bike, and I was equally impressed. Betta said they didn't fade. I didn't notice anything unusual with them in my 2 days of riding over there, so I guess that's a good thing. I can't really speak about the longevity of it or long-term performance or troubleshooting or maintenance and things like that. But based on my 2 days in Whistler and about 4 or 5 rides here on my local trails, I wouldn't avoid them if somehow I would get a hold of a pair of these brakes. And that's pretty much it. I hope you found this useful. Let me know if you have any questions. Don't forget to like my video and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you on the trails. Cheers.